Excellent. And we're live. Excellent. Hi, everyone, and welcome to March's Teach the Web Talk. As many of you already know, every month we are on this talk with a new speaker from a great organization who shares a skill with us that can help us all be better teachers and makers of the web. This month we're talking to two wonderful people from the World Wildlife Fund who have an initiative called Living Planet at Work that involves engaging people as champions, and that's our topic for this month, is how to engage volunteers as champions. I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves before we get started, but if you have any questions, there are three ways you can ask them. One, if you're watching live on the Google Hangout, you can use the Q&A feature to ask questions, and they'll show up for us right here, and we'll be able to answer them live. You can also tweet us your questions using hashtag #TeachTheWeb, and on Discourse, and the Google Hangout page has the link for Discourse, and you can drop them there. No matter where you put them, we will do our best to get them all answered. So let's start with some introductions. My name is Lucy Harris. I work for Mozilla on the Learning Networks team, and I'm going to be one of your hosts for today. I will pass it over to Sarah, the co-host, to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. I also work for Mozilla, and I'm on the Learning Networks team, but I'm based in London.
Excellent. And our two guests for the day from the World Wildlife Fund, Olivia and Amy. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Sure. Go ahead. Sure. So my name's Amy. I've been working with the World Wildlife Fund actually just since January, so not too long. And a little bit of a background on how I started. I actually worked with, a couple of years ago, worked with HP, who is one of the main champions of, or the lead sponsor of the program. And I worked as a Living Planet at Work champion for HP a couple of years ago, and just got to love what WWF was doing, love the work that they were doing, so as soon as an opportunity opened up, I snagged it, and the rest is history. So
yeah, Amy was one of our top champions, so we recruited her.
Converted, nice.
So I'm Olivia. I am the acting manager of employee engagement here at WWF. So I manage the Living Planet at Work program. I started off in actually community engagement and outreach, and I have a communications background as well. So that's kind of what led me to this program at WWF, which is all about engaging companies and their employees in support of sustainability and, of course, environmental issues in Canada.
Awesome. So before we dive a little deeper into some of the things you mentioned, like the Living Planet at Work program, we have some icebreaker questions so that we can know each other better and that our viewers can get to know us as well. So the first one, in honor of the World Wildlife Fund, is what is your spirit animal?
All right, so I guess my spirit animal would be the tiger. Just because, you know, I have a love for adventure. Tigers are very strong and passionate people, strong and passionate species, which I believe that, you know, I'm a passionate person. Also, as you can maybe see from my sweater,
amazing.
I have an affinity of cats. I have 2 cats at home, so a cat was definitely the right choice for me.
Mm-hmm. I would say my spirit animal is the snowy owl. So I got very specific there. Snowy owls, they live in the Arctic tundra, and they nest in the Arctic tundra, and then they nest in Canada and in Eurasia. And I think, you know, I like to vacation a little bit. And also, Amy pointed out yesterday that owls are very wise, and I don't know if I could say that I'm extremely wise, but I definitely love to meet new people and gather wisdom from others, and hopefully share my experiences and learnings with other people, which I'm doing today. So, the snowy owl.
Awesome. Are both of these animals endangered?
Ooh, tigers definitely are, and I believe
the snowy owl as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe you're one of a kind, endangered species.
Yes.
Sarah, let's hear your spirit animal.
My spirit animal would have to be the elephant. I'm a big fan, mainly for many reasons, but one of them would be that the female is kind of always the leader of the pack, and I kind of feel like we've got some similarities. I feel like they've got thick skins like myself, and they have a great sense of smell, but terrible eyesight, which is...
That's amazing. I guess I have to say mine. I would say an otter, because they're at home, both in the water and on land, and they use their tables as tummies. Their tummies as tables. Tables both, I guess. Also, if you've ever watched any of those like nature shows, when they sleep, they hold paws and then wrap themselves in seaweed to stay where they are, which I don't know exactly how that relates to my life. I'm very gregarious, so holding paws with everyone is my preference.
Nice.
So definitely the otter for me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay. So we're all in the kind of the realm of fundraising and events as part of all of our jobs. What is the most fun fundraising activity or event you've ever been in, run, or been a part of in some way?
Sure. So just recently, actually, in just a couple of weeks ago, I participated in a polar dip. So I don't know if you've ever done it before, but it was super exciting. It's the first time I'd ever done it. A polar dip is essentially plunging yourself into freezing water in the name of a good cause. And this year, WWF, we hosted our Polar Bear Week. It's a campaign that is designed to engage the public and employees in support of our Arctic conservation work. So work that we do with the polar bears and work we do in the northern communities. And so this year we went out to Lake Ontario. It was pretty cool. I think the water was 0, and we ran in, and in total we raised actually almost $50,000 for WWF. Not just me, but all of our supporters that came out to our polar dip. That was pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Great.
I guess for myself, I would have to say the CN Tower climb. When I was a champion working for HP, I actually led a CN Tower climb event with over 40 HP employees. So, just attending the climb, the atmosphere, the excitement that went on, it's just amazing work. And we actually ended up raising over $16,000 just within HP for the climb, for WWF's conservation efforts around the world. So it was a really great success. And, they celebrated our fundraising efforts with a party afterwards. Mm-hmm. So just a really great time.
Awesome. I'll go with mine next. I've never done the CN Tower Stair Climb, but I'm signed up to do it this in like a very short amount of time. And I anticipate that will be my new favorite very shortly. Or I'll collapse on the stairs and have to be carried the rest of the way. One or the other. I think my favorite is I did a cancer care challenge walk, and I helped organize that. And for part of it, I got to be in one of those like foam suits as a mascot, which made the walk even more challenging, but also a lot of fun. So I think that was definitely my favorite. Sarah, what's yours?
Well, you guys have definitely done some pretty intense activities. Mine is definitely on the fun side of things. So I used to work for Movember, it is a men's health charity, and people raise funds by growing moustaches. And at the end of the hairy month, which is November, we would host a load of gala parties around the country. And part of my job was to go to the gala parties and judge moustaches. So I would go and give sashes and ribbons for the guys with the biggest moustaches, or my favorite one was with the guys, the lame-o moustaches, where they had like maybe 2 or 3 hairs on the top lip that they didn't like. They always got the biggest trophies because they put in the most effort. It's harder for them.
I think that's pretty intense, actually.
That sounds like the most fun.
There's no running upstairs or polar dips, though, so I feel like
maybe not as courageous, but pretty exciting nonetheless.
Yeah.
Okay, we have one more quick icebreaker question, which is climate change is a big issue, but with the climates we currently have, what's your favorite climate that you'd like to live in? And let's start with Sarah this time. Go backwards.
I'm going to pick tropical climate because I envision sea, sand, waterfalls, really nice desert island, rather than, I'm sure hurricanes go with that as well, and it's quite a lot of monsoon season. But I'm going to go tropical. This is sunny climate.
How about you guys?
Yeah.
Favorite climates?
I would agree. I would say the kind of subtropical, like wet climate, which is about 25 degrees from the equator, and it gets a lot of sun, lots of rain, so opportunities for lots of you know, the rainforests to develop, which of course brings a lot of the most awesome species out in those climates. So, sure.
I would say actually I'm more of a fan of more of a moderate temperate climate. I love to hike, so anywhere that I can be around, you know, a forest like similar like we are in Canada even. I'm a huge fan of just, you know, 20 degrees Celsius type of thing. So I'm not overheating, but I'm also not freezing to death.
It's nice to see that the Canadian winter didn't beat that out of you.
Well, it's getting there. Yeah.
I was also going to say tropical, but it kind of put me in mind of like giant bugs and some of the more terrifying species. So I ended up choosing Mediterranean as kind of like a little bit in the middle, not too hot, not too cold. Olives?
Yes.
I don't know.
Definitely.
Great choice.
Yeah. Olives wine.
I did some research, I'm not going to lie. I was like, what is there? Desert? But that was where I landed. All right, so now that we all know each other a little bit better, we've had some fun, let's dig into the meat here and find out a little bit more about the WWF. Let's start with what it is and what it does, and then we'll dig into what Living Planet at Work is.
Sure. So WWF started, WWF Canada started about 50 years ago. Just to give you a sense of where we are at globally, though, we're in over 100 countries in 6 continents around the world. So WWF Canada, where we started, what our mission was, it was to bring back all of the species from the brink of extinction. But as the years progressed, we realized that conservation science was telling us that in order to save these species and to save wildlife, we need to address some threats to biodiversity. So we need to address climate change, what are the issues there? We need to address habitat loss, and we also need to address the unsustainable use of some of the resources that we are using today. So because of that, we've revamped our mission, and now WWF is, we have a few different approaches that we take. So one of them is a science-based approach. So if you're a conservation organization focused on species and science and biology, you need to have facts to back up why you're doing the work that you're doing. So science-based approach is very important to us. We also have a collaborative approach. We work with businesses, organizations, in order to help them reduce their efforts. So we like to make situations win-win. Another approach that we have is we have something called a global to local and local to global approach. And basically what that means is that as a local site, so we're in the Toronto site right now, the work that we're doing is contributing to the global work around the world that WWF is doing, but we're also learning from the work that the global team is doing as well. So we feed off of each other. And some of the initiatives that WWF is doing currently to support conservation, we do a lot of work in the Arctic to support Arctic species, communities, and habitats, as well as we are doing a lot of freshwater work. So currently what our goal right now is to be able to assess what our freshwater looks like across Canada, how healthy is it, what threats are there to it. And finally, we do a lot of coastal work with our oceans, with our ocean species, making sure that we, fishing, all that stuff is done in a sustainable way.
Cool. That is a lot of initiatives wrapped up in one organization, but it's really great to hear the explanation to see how they kind of all fit and the evolution. It's really great. So you guys both work at the Living Planet at Work initiative. Why don't you tell everyone who's listening what that is and the story of how it got started? Where did that idea come from?
Sure. So I guess I'll take that one. Living Planet at Work developed actually a number of years ago. So as Amy mentioned, we're very collaborative, and we know that we need to be, because if you think about all of the the conservation challenges that we're facing today. I mean, a changing climate in the Arctic. If you look at a recent stat that just came out about the fact that 76% of freshwater species have declined in the last 40 years globally. There's so many conservation challenges that we're facing, and in order to address them at the scale and at the pace that our planet needs, we cannot do it alone at WWF. We must collaborate with entities like businesses, because what do businesses have that we have, but they have more of it? They have the influence, they have resources, they have the reach, and so businesses are a natural fit and natural partner for WWF. And many years ago, we started working with businesses to help them reduce their environmental footprints. They were investing their resources to transform their supply chains, to transform their operations, to reduce their carbon footprint. And what was happening is that these companies were spending all this time doing this work and reporting on their footprints, but it wasn't translating down to the employees. Their employees at the same time were asking their companies, what kind of sustainability program do we have in place? The statistics out there are saying that employees actually do care about a company's reputation. They want to work for companies that are committed to corporate social responsibility. They want to work for companies that are environmentally responsible. So what happened was that these companies started reaching out to WWF Canada, and they were saying, do you have any tools on, how we can engage our employees during Earth Hour on energy conservation? Can you come out to our lunch and learn with Panda? Do you have any trivia? Do you have any fun employee engagement activities so that we can speak more about what we're doing at the top, and so that it translates down to what employees actually care about and want? And it was at that time that it sort of clicked for us that there wasn't anything like this. There wasn't an employee engagement program on sustainability in this kind of structured way. So we actually launched a pilot program. We worked very closely with 5 different companies, and we worked with their green teams and their green champions within their companies to find out what are the things that they need, what are the challenges in the office, what can we provide them that's unique. And then eventually, after a couple of years of piloting, we actually launched the program in 2011, and we pitched it to some corporate, some lead corporate funders and organizations. And it was actually HP Canada that stepped on board, because they are leaders and they're experts in engagement, not just only with their employees, but also with their stakeholders. And so they helped to fund this program and take it from just a kind of a kernel of an idea and a plan to kind of a full service program. And so what Living Planet at Work is, it's an employee engagement program, and it's designed specifically to engage with the green champions within workplaces to help them bring sustainability to the workplace. So it helps them to do everything from lead footprint reduction initiatives at work, whether it's relating to waste, paper, travel, energy, procurement. It helps them to engage their colleagues in environmental awareness campaigns like Earth Hour, for example. And then lastly, this program provides the tools and resources for them to fundraise for WWF's conservation work, which Amy mentioned earlier today. So that's in a nutshell what Living Planet at Work is.
Great. I love the fact that you said, you realize that it needed to be a collaborative approach. And I think that will speak so much to all of us listening in this call. It's like, yeah, you can't do things alone, and you need to reach out to other people. And you mentioned green champions. Can you tell us who these are and what they do?
Sure. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah. So, just in a nutshell, a green champion is anyone and everyone who has an interest for sustainability and who wants to get involved at work to reduce their office's sustainability footprint, or to be involved in any type of environmental campaign, anything like that. Our champions currently, they come from a wide range of different types of organizations. They come from big organizations, small companies. They come from all different levels within the organization. We have CEOs who are involved in Living Planet at Work, all the way down to, your front level employee who is wanted to take on a leadership role on sustainability. And then other thing to note about our champions is that a lot of them actually, sustainability is not actually a core function in their role. So a lot of the time these people are doing these initiatives on the side, at the side of their desk, which is, something great. It's a great leadership opportunity, obviously. And the last thing that I would say is the one thing that all of our champions do have in common is that passion for sustainability and for creating change at work.
Mm-hmm. And just to add to what Amy said, so it's amazing to see like the breadth and scope of like who our champions are. There isn't like a stereotypical champion. Is essentially we consider a champion anybody that wants to do more and that comes onto our virtual based kind of program that we have online, Living Planet at Work, signs up to access our free tools and resources. That's essentially who a champion is.
So it sounds like you get champions by like you approach a company and say we'd like to implement this, and then also sometimes like individuals who are passionate about it get involved and then bring it to the company. Is that how most people come in?
Yeah, so I failed to mention in my explanation of Living Planet at Work that it's actually a virtually based platform. So Living Planet at Work exists online, and so anybody that goes online to sign up for a Living Planet at Work account to get our tools and resources, sign up for our newsletters, attend our webinars, and so on is considered a champion. So we actually don't actively go out and seek champions. They just come to us just by finding Living Planet at Work either through a friend or colleague, a search online, through the WWF like social media channels. They actually just kind of come to us from Canada and actually internationally as well. So we currently have over 940 champions, I would say, that have signed up to use our tools and resources from kind of all over the world. And then what we do is that this champion, the model is that once this champion kind of comes into our world and they sign up to, say, access energy tools to conduct an energy audit, for example, or they sign up to, say, participate in the CN Tower climb, then we sort of are able to work with this champion. We find out a little bit more about them, what their company's all about, what their goals are, what they want to do. And we sort of tap into their skills, their interests, and their passions. And then what we do is we help them to build their capacity within their companies so that they can go and kind of spread the word to their workforce. So we're starting with one person, one passionate champion, and we empower that champion with the know-how and the tools and support so that they can go ahead and enact change within their kind of world, you could say.
I really, I think it's such a strong point you made there, that these people are volunteers. They're taking time out of their day. They believe in what you're trying to achieve. And so they're taking time out of their day and their work life to work with you and give you their time and their skills. And so that's really incredible. So you say people sign up on the website. So what's the sign-up procedure like? Are they telling you what their interests are, telling you what their skills? Are they telling you how they want to get involved?
Well, no. I mean, we used to actually ask a lot more questions than we do today. We've had 2 versions of our sort of virtual platform. Today, we want to make it as low barrier as possible. We want to say, if you care about sustainability in your workplace and you want your colleagues to become more environmentally aware, then just sign up with your name, your company, tell us where your company is located, and then from there you are able to access plethora of resources, and our resources are sort of categorized by typical impact areas. So they actually just they don't self-report kind of what their interests are, but we can tell what they're doing based on their downloads. Are they downloading energy tools more than they are downloading, say, fundraising tools? Are they downloading more paper consumption tools versus sustainability reporting tools? We kind of gauge their interests, and our resources are also categorized by level. So if you have beginner resources, you have intermediate resources, and advanced. So it's kind of, you choose based on where you are in your sustainability journey. But you also get to kind of hone in on what their interests are based on attendance at our webinars. So our webinars focus on particular topics of interest. So whoever attends, we then follow up with them after and have kind of phone conversations or email dialogue with them. We also have newsletters that we circulate monthly that talk about, all sorts of things. We highlight particular tools, upcoming events. We highlight our top champions. And so we can even tell through the clicks on these newsletter stories what particular champions are engaged in.
Awesome. I want to come back to the resources that you touched on and dive into those a little bit deeper. But I have a follow-up question on something you mentioned about trying to make it low barrier. So it sounds like you guys have a good network. You're putting things out on social, and people are talking about this initiative, and that's how people get involved and are like, oh, or hear about it. They're like, that's something I'm interested in. Is the procedure then like they come to the site and you sign them up and then offer them some tools? Do you, at any point, does like a person contact them? And what kind of like principles? It sounds like you guys have tried a few different things for like what that first point of contact is on the site. What are some of the takeaways from that? Like if someone else wanted to put together a champion program, should they keep it really simple? Like, do you put your offerings like up front? What are some takeaways that you've
Well, I think for us, so we've had a lot of experimentation. When we launched this program, we asked a ton of different questions, and you know, we realized that a lot of these champions are so busy. Like they're, again, doing this at the side of their desk. This is not what their, you know, daily role is, and they actually probably a lot of times don't have time allocated to do this, nor do their senior leaders or their managers actually sometimes don't necessarily believe in this work. They don't see the ROI on, or the return on investment of why, you know, we need to engage in sustainability and invest resources in this. So we want them to sign up, you know, use the program as they wish, because we want it to be flexible. I think that's the number one tip that I would give to someone who wants to start a champion program is you have to be flexible, because every champion comes from a different environment. Like Amy mentioned, you may have a champion from a huge company, a large company with thousands of employees, and they may have a ton of red tape. Or you may have a small company that is very agile, their employees are really engaged, they can try a number of different things, and that's the, I think, advantage. And I would say that the great thing about this program is that you can use it any way you want to. What we have on our website are just a variety of campaigns. We've got the Polar Bear Week supporting our Arctic conservation work, to the Great Canadian Shoreline Cleanup, which is around getting outside and cleaning up, to the CN Tower Climb, which is fundraising for, you know, conservation work in general, to a Smart Office Challenge campaign, which is around looking at the waste and the energy of your office IT and how do you engage your employees in this. So all of these different campaigns and ideas and resources serve many different champions. They sort of can pick and choose what they like to do based on the barriers that exist in their environments, what their interests are in the company, and how it relates to the company's sustainability goals. Like a company that's in professional services cares a lot about paper, and a company that's in, what's a good example? IT, an IT company cares a lot about, you know, the energy consumption of their IT. So any tips for?
Yeah, just another thing that I would say from a Living Planet at Work perspective, the program has actually over 1,000 champions now, and there's 2 full-time people working on it. So as much as we would love to personally reach out to every champion that signs up, you know, we simply just can't. We don't have the resources to do that. So along with, you know, developing that flexible program, I think that's, again, what Olivia was saying. That's why we developed Living Planet at Work the way we did, because we knew that we were hoping that it was going to grow, and it has grown. And we think that, you know, we like to get people to use the tools as they wish. And of course, if they're really strongly engaged and they really want to take something to the next level but don't know how, they can reach out to us, and we are more than happy to address any concerns that they have if they send us an email. But as of right now, we want to tend to leave it to them to make that initial contact with us.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really good point, is that when a champion comes into our world, we don't actively engage with them right away. We sort of want them to self-identify as being the highly engaged champions. There are some sort of like the typical bell curve, right, where you have the few that are highly engaged, which means that they're doing everything from fundraising to campaigns to leading footprint reduction initiatives. They contact us, they email us, they call us, they come to our events, they tell us what they're doing so we can share their stories. They have this huge bucket of people that are downloading things and doing things, but we don't have that personal relationship with them. And then there's, of course, the end group, which is we don't call them disengaged, but we just have this bucket of people where we don't know anything about them. We know that they are doing something, we just don't know what, because they don't report back to us. So I think our efforts are really focused on that first group of people, you know, the early adopters, and what we do is we really try to showcase their successes in the program. A champion that has really been able to form an effective green team, a champion that has been able to spearhead a sustainability report for the first time. And when we share those stories through our webinars, through our Twitter, through our newsletters, it kind of motivates this middle bucket here to say, hey, you know, I can be doing more, I should be sharing more, and then eventually we try to move them along that journey so that we are able to establish like a personal contact and relationship with them.
I think there's really good information in there, both about like flexibility. So whether you're looking for volunteers for an event or you're starting a club and you want kind of like a more sustained commitment, more like the champion program, having flexible options for people, because I like how you said it kind of leads people to segment out based on how interested they are. And it sounds like, and this seems like a good piece of advice, that the people who are really, really going to be engaged a lot, they'll kind of show themselves early, and then you can focus in on them. So I think those really interesting points. I think they're very applicable to our community.
No time barrier to engagement. You know, you realize that you have supporters that just want to hear the newsletters and want to show their support by showing up, but then you do have those engaged people that are willing to go that step forward for your campaigns. So you spoke a little bit about resources for those really engaged champions. Do you want to tell us what sort of resources you have available to them?
Mm-hmm. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, so we have a ton of different types of resources that Olivia sort of touched on. Some of them include guides, so basically step-by-step information on how you can do certain events. I can give you one example of we call this a toolkit. What we have done recently for HP actually is we created a comprehensive Earth Day toolkit for them. And what this toolkit includes is basically everything that you as a person working for HP, interested in sustainability, interested in hosting an Earth Day at your site, this toolkit will tell you everything you need to know. So what it includes several different ideas on the certain types of events that you can host. Basically gives you a step-by-step how-to on what you need to do to host these different types of events. It gives you information on certain communications initiatives or how you can communicate the events to your employees. Gives you examples on posters that you can use, so you literally can just print the posters off and post them in your office. So we wanted to make it as simple as possible for people who are busy and don't have the time to do this to be able to organize something easy for their organization. So that's just one example of a resource that we have. We have a lot of, if people are sort of looking to get more into the sustainability realm, to get more educated about it, we have a lot of background or educational resources as well. A lot on, you know, what types of things can you do to reduce your waste, what types of things can you do to reduce your energy consumption at work, you know, some of the green IT practices that, you know, surprising things that you can do that you may not have thought of that are very easy for you to do, that, you know, can get some cost savings for your organization as well. We have,
I was just going to say that the example that Amy mentioned about HP, we actually don't create toolkits for specific companies. Of course, because HP is our lead corporate sponsor, we took the initiative to create something specifically for them. But it's a good example of something that we would create and just put on our website as a general resource for anyone to access. So a couple of really cool toolkits I think that we have are, for example, the Polar Bear Week. So every February we host a Polar Bear Week, which is around raising awareness of our work in the Arctic and fundraising for our projects in the Arctic. So what we created is kind of a calendar. So it's like a week of events. Like what are some activities that you can do each day of the week? And we're not prescribing that they do every single one. It's an idea. So for example, Monday is your launch day. And then you've got your introductory bake sale, and you've got some trivia that we've created. And then the Tuesday is your auction for the Arctic. Wednesday is your polar dip. Thursday is, I can't even remember all the ideas.
Movie club.
Yeah, like a screening a documentary, an Arctic documentary, and then we have a list of all the different documentaries that you can screen. So literally we're handing it to them on a silver platter to say, you know what, I know you don't have time, I know you don't have you may not have the budget, you may not have the team, but here is like the perfect toolkit, and we're delivering everything to you to make it as easy and low barrier as possible, because that is essentially what's going to motivate and inspire them to actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
Is as giving them everything that they need and making sure that they feel like we're here to help. Every time that we send out this toolkit, we always say, send us your stories, let us know if you need help. If you have questions, give us a call. And we do get some calls from champions who want to brainstorm something else. So they make these polar bear weeks completely different sometimes than what we've put in the toolkit, or sometimes they follow it exactly the way it is. It really depends.
That's awesome. And I like the idea of coming back to like making it really simple, like low bar for people. And I'm thinking that for people in our community who are maybe they're trying to start a club and they're trying to figure out how can I engage more like volunteers or organizations to get involved. If they had, say, fewer resources than the WWF, would you say that like the one tool that they should make sure they have when they're like going out and seeking out partners or trying to volunteers is like a how-to guide or like a little toolkit? Would it be more like a call or like an email communication or a newsletter? What do you think kind of is the most effective for engaging people?
Mm-hmm. Great question.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, maybe Olivia has a different idea, but I like the concept of the toolkit just because it's an idea that you're presenting it to someone and you're saying, I'm giving you everything you need to know how to do this. So if you're interested in it, then at very low barrier, you can basically just go with it using all the things that I've created for you. So I would say if you're going to create a physical resource, the toolkit would be it. And, potentially if you have the bandwidth to do this, accent that with personal email communications if someone is really struggling or if someone needs help with something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with Amy. We've had amazing success with toolkits. It's like the number one reason why our champions actually reached out to us in the first place it's like, hey, do you have any of those posters, or do you have a toolkit, do you have a guide? Anytime we want to talk about an idea, the first thing they ask is, can you send me something? So send me more. So I think a lot of times they're pretty surprised at the comprehensive way that we've built this toolkit. It's not just a piece of paper that says this is what you need to do. It's like, this is what you need to do, and here's every single tool that relates to what you need to do. So even as simple as host a bake sale for Polar Bear Week, we've actually listed out, we have a document that has Arctic or polar bear inspired bake sale or treat recipes, like polar bear cookies and the recipe. I know that's just fundraising focused, but even for something as simple as, or not simple, but this could be quite hard for some champions, is if you want to conduct a waste audit, like where do you start? So we have like a primer on why you're focusing on waste. And then we have sort of an audit tracker. It's an Excel spreadsheet that helps you input all of your different types of waste and segregate it and see, how much waste you're collecting in all the different streams. And then there's like an actual tool to help you use the tracker as well. So how do you use this Excel spreadsheet? And then from there we have benchmarks. So how do other organizations compare with their waste and their success in diverting in waste diversion? And then we have sort of like, take the next step. Here are some other ideas to augment your waste campaign and make it better. And here's some fundraising messaging, or not fundraising, communications messaging that you can use to put into your emails when you're talking to employees about this waste campaign. It's like you have to think of every single thing that you think that they might ask or they might need, put it all together in one package so that it's easy and make it accessible, make it easy for them to download and navigate through.
So your toolkit is but like a step-by-step guide to throwing an event.
Hosting a
fundraising event in this case.
Yeah, the waste one is around footprint reduction. It's a footprint reduction activity or initiative. But we have the fundraising toolkits. We have employee engagement toolkits, which are more around awareness, like an Earth Hour week. We have an Earth Hour week toolkit, which is what do you do? Which is right now, actually, the week leading up to Earth Hour. What are some things that you can do to engage your employees every day? So we've got like a climate in jeopardy PowerPoint. We've got an energy scavenger hunt with all the different like pieces that you would need to put around the office. A computer power down challenge with notes that you leave behind on employees' desks to let them know if they've done it or not. And we actually have created the templates for the placards that you leave on their desks as well. So it's really cool.
You talked a little bit about helping your champions with comms. So I presume this is part of the toolkit as well. What advice would you give to event organizers if they want to direct their champions in comms around a certain event? Do you give them word for word text? Do you tell them to put some personal voice behind it? What is your advice to other events organizers around comms?
So I think actually a little bit of both. So what we've done in that Polar Bear Week toolkit was we provided communications for them to literally copy and paste and use as they wish, wherever they wish. But another thing that I think could be very useful, especially because people don't have time, is what I also did for another toolkit was craft a sample email that you can copy and paste into your own email, change a few things, change your name, change who your audience is, change a couple of sentences here and there, and just send it off. So it's like you're sending that personal message, but you didn't have to take the time to craft that message. So.
And one thing that Amy's done really well is she's also created like templates for a communications plan. So it's like if you're hosting the Polar Bear Week or Earth Hour Week, we have the fundraising the communications messages crafted, and then sort of like a 5 weeks out or something. What do you do on the first week, and what are you sending out? On the second week, what are you doing? On the third week, what are you saying? So it basically gives them a really good idea of everything that they need to do to host this successful campaign.
And it's providing support as well to them at a low bar, in the sense that if you're an event organizer and you don't have a lot of money and you don't have money to send out swag, giving advice around this kind of press releases is invaluable to champions, I'm sure. And you mentioned also you do posters. So people can use posters. That's a nice piece as well.
We get a designer to create some general posters with a general message on it. Support Polar Bear Week. Your funds will support WWF's work in the Arctic with a beautiful polar bear photo, different sizes, so that they can put it everywhere. Thank you certificates that they can send out to employees that participate after. And we also send photos. WWF, we're lucky. I mean, we've got an incredible global photo network, and we obviously look at the photos that we can actually distribute to third parties, and we allow them to use those different photos of narwhals and polar bears in the Arctic so that they can integrate it into their communications, because they have their own company intranets, their own company newsletters. They want to create their own posters, so we give them that opportunity so it's flexible.
And I know the visuals are so powerful. And I'm thinking about, so you've kind of found the people who have kind of self-selected as the really involved kind of volunteers and put them into this champion track where you provide them with all of these resources to kind of keep them energized and keep them going. I wonder how you deal with retaining champions. So I'm sure there's some excitement in the beginning. And I'm wondering if you were giving advice to a smaller organization that had already found a group of champions, say they were really interested in web literacy, and they had given them some tools, here's some how-to sheets on how to throw web literacy events in your community. What other things keep these people engaged? Because life comes up and people toddle off. How do you really retain your champions, and what advice would you give to smaller organizations based on what you guys have learned?
I go first. Okay. Yeah. So the good thing about our program is that the resources that we have are good for both large and small organizations. So what I would say, some tips to, make sure that they're engaged is to make them feel appreciated and make sure that they know that their efforts are appreciated. You can do this in many different ways. So some of the ways that we do it, we share stories as to some of the great things that our champion is doing. If you are a small organization and you were able to engage half of your workforce to be involved in an event, then that's something that we can celebrate because that's a great accomplishment. So we can celebrate that through posting on blogs, even internally, if you're a small company, you want to post it all around, send an email to everyone in the organization saying this person took the lead on this event, something like that. We also, as a part of Living Planet at Work, have an actual formal awards program. So companies who have been sort of taken the extra step and gone that extra mile, we recognize them through a formal awards program.
Mm-hmm. We award the top champion, the top green team, the top fundraiser, the top company of the year. It is it's a big deal at WWF Canada. We actually present the winners, the awards at our annual public meeting, which is hundreds of people in the fall. There's a submission process, and so I think recognition, like Amy mentioned, is key to keep them engaged and keep them excited. And also when a lot of times people do things, but they don't have the time to report back to you. So it's great to maintain a schedule where where you can kind of quickly reach out to certain champions that are doing things so you can gather their stories, because that's actually fuel to recognize them, make them feel good, but also to motivate and inspire the other champions to do the same and to keep engaged. And I find with this program, it's keeping it fresh. You have to have new ideas every time. Like you can't. I mean, doing Earth Hour every year, it's great, but we tried to create something new this year. We created Canada Water Week. And the great thing about this program is there's endless things to do. There's always something that we're promoting. So I think that helps to keep us kind of top of mind every now and then, every couple of months, and build momentum. And one of the things that we do, and I know that many small organizations may not have the opportunity to do this, is we have a lot of different touch points with them. We have newsletters, we talk to them via Twitter, we have webinars where they dial in from across the country. Sometimes they themselves will guest speak and talk about their stories. Like Amy mentioned, we have our awards program. We talk to them via email and via phone. But one of the best ways that we've helped to really establish relationships with these champions is through in-person events. And we don't do them often, but we have a couple sprinkled in throughout the year. So just this week we had an Earth Hour trivia. And we hosted it at, an event a space downtown. We invited green teams and their champions to come out. We had a panel where we talked about renewable energy. But it was so much fun, and it was an opportunity to really, see them face to face, because we talked to them virtually so much, find out more about what they're doing. We have champion workshops as well, in-person champion workshops where we bring them together. Now, we're located in Toronto, so we only have sort of GTA Toronto-based in-person events. And if you're, trying to do that, if you're, say, located in one city but you want to engage some champions in another city, one way is to also connect those champions together. So sometimes we have champions in Vancouver, as an example, that may be doing the same thing as another champion, another company in Vancouver, and sometimes we'll allow them to connect and kind of learn from each other. So you're almost building these little sharing, learning community groups all across the country, I guess.
Yeah. I think in-person events can be so powerful, and I know that especially when you guys do them, they're always really fun, and that helps keep people engaged as well. So unbelievably, we're actually already coming to the end of our time, but I know we have a couple more questions, and we have a community question to get to as well. So let's try and move towards 30-second answers so we can get through as many of these as possible. Sarah, I know you have another question, then we'll do Laura's question from Discourse.
I was just going to ask a question about how you gather your information, pictures, and how you do your shout-outs on social media. Do you use hashtags?
Yeah. We do use hashtags. For a particular campaign, for example, we'll tell all of our champions via the newsletter or in our personal emails, hey, hashtag WWF Spring Things. We have a campaign called Spring Things, and we ask them to tag all of their photos, any activities in the workplace, any stories that they want to share related to Spring Things, and that's how it ends up kind of on our website, and we end up retweeting a lot of those. It's interesting, gathering stories and photos. It's one of our challenges, that's for sure, because champions are so busy. They're so busy activating these ideas that they don't think about the next thing, which is, let's contact WWF so we can be recognized. So we actually do a little bit of outreach to gather stories and photos, and we also do send questionnaires out after some campaigns to gather the information. And we specifically target the highly engaged champions, the ones that we have relationships with, because we know they'll respond for sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to ask our question from Discourse. I think we've already covered some of the topics. So this is through our Discourse channel, and if you have a question for Discourse, you can drop it in the Discourse page. The link is in the Hangout. This question is asking about the strategies for sustaining engagement at the WWF, and I think we've touched on that a little bit, and also about sustaining local activities, and I think you talked about some of the local events that you used for that. Mm-hmm. But I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about any volunteer professional development and or training you offer.
Mm-hmm. We actually don't have any official training. That's still something that we're talking about. It is though in the works. We're thinking about implementing a professional training. What I can say that we do have as sort of an educational piece are those backgrounders that we were mentioning before, those resources that teach you a little bit about why it's important, why the work that you're doing is important, what types of things that you can do, just to give you a general background.
It's a really good point, and actually it's something that has come up recently, training and development. I mean, a lot of these champions don't, again, this sustainability is in their core job function. How can we create modules, for example, on specific topics, and once they go through them and they've activated ideas or they're completed the list of things to do, is there something that kind of certifies them as being a specific champion, like a top Living Planet at Work champion? I don't know. I think we definitely need to explore that. So thanks for bringing that up. But one of the things I did want to mention is being a champion. If it's not your sustainability function, it's not your job. What it helps to do is actually get you recognized in the company. It's actually a really good leadership opportunity within your company. And we've had cases where champions have worked in a completely different area, and they've actually helped to create a role, a sustainability and employee engagement role, because of their work on the green team. So even though this is not a professionally development, like certified official course,
it's a good way to get recognized.
Yeah, it's being recognized in companies as pretty cool, and helping them to achieve success in the workplace, which is helping them to get recognized and be promoted in their companies.
Absolutely. Good way to show initiative. Get started. So I have one wrap-up question that I'll kind of throw to both of you, which is just a general, why do you think that this model where you find champions and engage them and keep them engaged is effective for promoting this? Why do you think this is an important strategy?
Mm-hmm. I would say this champion model is effective because as an internal member of that organization, they know what the strengths are of the organization, what the current initiatives are of the organization, and they know what the needs are, strengths and weaknesses, and from there they will be able to more effectively engage the appropriate people and leverage the appropriate networks that they need to in order to make a successful sustainability program within their organization. So.
And lastly, I'll just say that it's interesting because we're not going out there. This model, I think, is effective because it's online and it's free, and we're not going out there actively preaching to disbelievers. These are people that are coming into our world that want what we have. So it's it's easier, I think, when you're attracting the interested champions, because it makes our job a lot easier. And I think I think that's what I'd have to say is just.
Absolutely.
And do you think this would work for other groups as well, like not specific to you guys? Do you think the model of finding champions and letting them come to you, do you think that works, like generally speaking as well?
Well, I think so. It really depends on what value you're giving. I mean, we have this kind of motto here where we give, 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 and then, you know, we ask. We don't constantly ask, you know. We do have a lot of asks here, you know, participate in Polar Bear Week, fundraise for the climb, you know, write your sustainability report, but we give them a lot of value in return. And I think that's why champions have responded the way that they do, is we're really helping them do the things that they are interested in and passionate about and what they want to do. So we give that up front, and we give a lot of it up front. And I think for somebody that's looking to do something, even if it's not in sustainability, something else, make sure what you're offering is something of value and something that they can't get anywhere else. Like, this program doesn't actually exist in any other WWF network. It is very, very unique. And what's unique about it is, and we actually researched the space, the competitive landscape on employee engagement, on sustainability before we launched this program. And we realized, yeah, that there were a lot of tools out there, but there wasn't a lot of tools in this curated way. And the way that we engage through webinars, through newsletters, through workshops, through in-person events, and these different toolkits and campaigns that are constantly refreshed every year, this doesn't exist elsewhere. And so we knew that it was unique, and that champions would continually come back to us if we provided what they needed.
Nice. And so maybe the last, noticing the time, this could be our wrap-up question, but if people want to get involved in the Living Planet at Work, where do they go and how do they do so?
So they can sign up to the Living Planet at Work program. So it's www.atwork.ca.
Atwork.wwf.ca.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that.
We'll put the link in the chat, don't worry.
Yes, and signing up is very, very easy. All you need to do is enter in your name and your city and location. It takes less than 3 minutes, I would say. Mm-hmm. And then after that, you will be able to have access to all the resources that we've been talking about.
Yeah, and I would say go to the contact section of the website, and you'll find our contacts there, or maybe from you if you want to distribute it. And really, send us an email, give us a call. We love to hear from champions, and you can tell us kind of what you want to do in the workplace. Even if it's, you know, how do you build a green team, we can help you do that. We'll set up a brainstorm call, or you can attend one of our webinars, and we can chat more about how this program can complement your existing efforts and help you drive sustainability at work.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Olivia and Amy, for joining us today on the Teach the Web Talk. It was great having you. I think we learned so much about your initiative and how we can all engage champions better in our communities. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us. It was awesome.
Excellent. And in April, we're going to be talking with Creative Commons, so everyone should stay tuned and join us for that. And in 1 week, this is going to be turned into a podcast and released at mzl.la/TTW podcasts. And just make sure that TTW are all capitalized. If you want to continue the conversation, head over to Discourse. And you can also tweet at us at Webmaker, or you can tweet at Living Planet at Work. And I believe it's WWF_living_planet_. You guys can tell us the Twitter handle. I'm screwing it up here.
WWF_@, and it's spelled AT _work. So WWF_@_work.
That will fall into the chat, so we'll have all the correct links in the chat.
Excellent. So send us your questions and stay tuned next month, and watch out for this podcast. It's going to be great. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.